Welcome to the Cobe Spectra Automated Peripheral Blood Stem Cell Collection Procedure. This video is an important step in your ability to achieve the best results with your patients and donors. A demonstration of separation and collection principles is also included. At the conclusion of this video presentation, you will be able to load, prime, and troubleshoot the disposable set for automated peripheral blood stem cell collections. But first, let's review a few things that will be helpful. Each operator should be thoroughly familiar with indications, contraindications, and warnings which can be found just behind the table of contents and before the introduction section of the Cobe Spectra Operator's Manual. Throughout this video, peripheral blood stem cells are referred to as PBSC. The first step in completing this training program is to review the Getting Started segment of your workbook. If you have not already done so, please take a moment at this time to review the Getting Started section of your workbook. Welcome back. We will begin by looking at the principles of separation and collection of peripheral blood stem cells using AUPBSC. The AUPBSC system collects peripheral blood stem cells using a three-phased approach that repeats throughout the collection process. The three phases are accumulation, harvest, and chase. In the accumulation phase, mononuclear cells, including peripheral blood stem cells, accumulate in the centrifuge channel. The accumulation of mononuclear cells continues until a predetermined volume of cells is accumulated. This accumulation is affected by the inlet flow rate, which is the rate at which the cells enter the channel, and also by the patient's mononuclear cell precount. When the accumulation phase is complete, the Spectra system automatically initiates the next phase, which is called harvest. During the harvest phase, red blood cells, RBCs, stored in the red blood cell reservoir of the AUPBSC disposable set, are returned to the channel. These extra RBCs raise the height of the interface until the accumulated mononuclear cells flow over the dam to be harvested at the collection port. The harvest phase is automatically followed by the chase phase. During the chase phase, a set volume of plasma is used to chase the mononuclear cells up into the collect bag. The harvest volume plus the chase volume determines the total collect volume per harvest. The Spectra AUPBSC system gives the operator the option to choose from a range of volume settings for precise control of the final product volume. After the chase phase is completed, the Spectra system automatically starts a new accumulation phase. This cycle repeats throughout the procedure. AUPBSC combines automation and flexibility. The operator can choose to collect concurrent plasma, which can be used for cryopreservation of the harvested PBSCs. Stop the tape now and do exercise 1 in your workbook. We will begin by loading the disposable set for AUPBSC procedures. Remember, loading the disposable set is covered in the Loading, Priming, and Removing Disposables section of your operator's manual. Begin by making sure the system is plugged in and the power is turned on. The system goes through a short self-check. When this test is complete, verify that the current version of the software is displayed. The Cobe Spectra system comes with 3 types of fillers, and you need to check that the correct filler is installed. AUPBSC procedures use the dual-stage filler without the LRS chamber bracket. To check the filler, press the unlock cover key, slide the centrifuge cover back, and lower the centrifuge door. If a different filler is in place, remove it as follows. Push the filler latching pin toward the center of the centrifuge and raise the filler latch. Push the filler locking pin toward the center of the centrifuge, hold, and raise the filler with both hands. To install the dual-stage filler, begin by rotating the centrifuge so that the centrifuge alignment dot and pin are facing away from you. Position the dual-stage filler so that the dots on the centrifuge and filler are aligned. Place the filler over the centrifuge assembly and press down until the filler locking pin is securely in place. Lower the filler latch. Lift up on the filler to ensure that it is securely in place and close the centrifuge door and cover. Stop the tape now and complete exercise 2 in your workbook. Welcome back. Now that you have completed the filler exercise, you are ready to learn how to load the disposable set. Make sure you have an AUPBSC disposable set. Peel back the cover and place the package on the centrifuge cover. Use the package hook located on the front panel. It helps hold the package while you load the disposable set. Unpacking the various components of the disposable set in the correct order is essential to a smooth and easy loading operation. As a helpful reminder, we will introduce an expression known as CBCC. CBCC stands for coils, bags, cartridges, and channel. This refers to the order in which the disposable package should be unpacked. Begin by removing the coils. Lift the inlet line coil and remove the white paper tapes. Notice that the coil has 3 lines taped together with red tape. They are the red access line, the clear anticoagulant line, and the green saline line. Hang the access connection on the hook on the left side of the IV pole. Next, remove the access saline line. The access saline line has a green stripe and a drip chamber connected to it. Place the access saline line over the top of the spectra system. Lift the return line coil from the package and remove the white paper tapes. Notice that the 2 lines attached to this connection are taped together with blue tape. Hang the return connection onto the hook on the left side of the IV pole. The return saline line has a drip chamber and a needle connected to it. Place the return saline line over the top of the spectra system. We have now finished with the coils. Now let's move on to the next letter in our CBCC expression, B, which stands for bags. Remove the collect bag and hang it on the far right of the IV pole. Next, remove and hang the waste bag and hang the plasma bag. We have now finished with the bags. Next, we need to load the cartridges. Place the return pump cartridge between the plasma and collect pumps. Snap the cartridge into place. The code label on the cartridge should be facing up. Next, remove the access pump cartridge from the package and place it between the anticoagulant and the inlet pumps. Snap the cartridge into place. Again, the code label should be facing up. Remove the AC line from the package and place it over the top of the spectra system. Ensure that all tubing is clear of pumps and untangled. Then press the Continue key on the display panel to load the tubing onto the pump rotors. Notice that the cartridge clamps automatically retract and the tubing is threaded onto the pump rotors. The valves open to the load position. Verify that the pumps are loaded and visually check for kinked tubing in the pump rotors. Now for the last C, the centrifuge channel. Remove the channel, discard the package, and lay the channel on the centrifuge cover. Now that you have unpacked the disposable set, let's review the process. Stop the tape now and complete exercise 3 in your workbook. Now you are ready to begin loading tubing into the valves, sensors, and detectors. Begin with the plasma and collect valves and work around the front panel. You find 2 tubes coming out of the top of the return pump cartridge. These tubes split into 4 tubes. These 4 tubes are put into the plasma and collect valves using a flossing action. Do not twist or turn the tubing. Place the return pressure sensor in the return pressure sensor housing. Push downward and turn clockwise to lock in place. Next, you install the cuvette into the collect concentration monitor, commonly referred to as the CCM. Remember to avoid touching the center of the cuvette because fingerprints may decrease the accuracy of its readings. Note that the cuvette slides freely on the tubing. Pull the housing out and turn it counterclockwise to lock it in the load position. While holding the ends of the cuvette with a flat side parallel to the front panel, slide the cuvette into position in the monitor. Turn the housing clockwise and lower it over the cuvette. Next, we need to load the RBC valve and detector. The RBC line attaches to the Y going to the return air chamber. This line includes the RBC reservoir, which is unique to the AUPBSC disposable set. The RBC reservoir can be distinguished from the air chambers by the absence of the filters. Use a flossing action to place the RBC line into the RBC line valve and detector. Rest the RBC reservoir on the front panel. Ensure that the line going to the plasma pump is not loaded in the RBC valve. You are now finished with the right side of the machine and are now moving toward the left. Note the 2 air detectors and the waste valve assembly. Insert the waste divert lines into the waste valve assembly above the air detectors. Then pull down on the inlet and return waste lines until the Y connector touches the pin. Insert the return and inlet air chambers into the air detectors. Be certain to do this with the air chamber filters located below the air detector housings. Ensure that the waste divert lines are toward you. Place the inlet line into the centrifuge pressure sensor housing. Use a flossing action to completely insert the line. Next, place the access pressure sensor in the access pressure sensor housing. Push down and turn clockwise to lock in place. Finally, insert the return line in the return line valve. Use a flossing action to ensure proper loading. Now that you have loaded the front panel portion of the disposable set, let's review the process. Stop the tape now and do exercise 4 in your workbook. Now, we are ready to load the centrifuge channel. Press the unlock cover key, slide the cover back, and lower the door. Rotate the centrifuge so that the loading port is open to the front and lift the filler latch. Fold the channel in half as shown, thread it through the loading port and pull it out from the top. Using the filler slots as a guide, align the channel. Place the collar into the centrifuge collar holder with a pointed edge facing out and close the latch cover over the collar. Lower the filler latch into the locked position. Start at the control chamber, which can be identified by the two tubes, and press the channel into the filler. Work around to the opposite side of the channel. Complete a visual inspection to make sure that the channel is properly seated all the way around the filler. Press the 4 tubes into the appropriate slots in the filler, ensuring that all tubes are completely inserted. Check the bearings to be sure they are securely attached to the tubing. Place the lower and upper bearings in the appropriate bearing holders. Make sure the bearings are seated properly. Place the upper collar in the upper collar holder. After placing the collar into the holder, visually check that it is installed properly as shown by this diagram. Inspect all lines to ensure that they are not kinked. Place the tubing in the exit slot on the right side of the system using a flossing action. Rotate the centrifuge in a clockwise direction several times to ensure that the tubing is secure and does not twist. Both the upper and lower bearings should also remain in place. Close the centrifuge door and cover. You have now finished installing the centrifuge channel. Now let's take a look at this process from beginning to end before going on to the workbook exercise. Stop the tape now and do exercise 5 in your workbook. If you need to rewind the tape to review any portion of loading before going on to prime, do so now. You are now ready to prime the system. To begin, you must tell the system which tubing set you are using. Press 3 to select the WBC option. Next, press 4 to select AUPBSC. The system instructs you to clamp the access and return lines and to close both saline lines. Close the white pinch clamps on the access and return lines. Next, locate the access and return saline lines and close the roller clamps on these lines as well. Press the Continue key, and the system instructs you to connect the fluid containers. The disposable set does not include anticoagulant or saline. These containers need to be obtained from your supplies. Consult your operator's manual for the proper solutions. The anticoagulant bag should be hung on the hook farthest to the left. The saline bag should be hung on the next hook. For patient and donor safety, be sure not to confuse the connection of the AC and saline lines. Follow the AC line from the top of the AC pump and make sure you connect it to the AC bag. Remember to use aseptic technique throughout this procedure. Connect the AC line to the anticoagulant container. Fill the drip chamber 1/2 full. Then place the AC line in the AC level detector. Ensure that the AC line is not kinked. The filter should be below the AC level detector. Next, connect the access and return saline lines to the same saline container. Using aseptic technique, clean the injection port before inserting the metal spike into it. Then place the plastic spike in the spike port. Fill the drip chambers 1/2 full. Press the continue key. The system then instructs you to open the access and return saline lines. After opening the access and return saline roller clamps, press the continue key to prime the tubing set. The system performs several tests as part of priming the tubing set. You may notice that the valves change position and the pumps change flow rates as the spectra system goes through the priming process. The display shows various messages to inform you of the progress of the prime. The priming process proceeds automatically, taking about 5 minutes to complete. Wait until the system instructs you to prime access and return connections and the Spectratherm line. The Kobe Spectratherm blood warmer is not covered in this video. To prime the access line, open the white pinch clamp. Allow saline to prime the access line and then close the clamp. To prime the return line, open the white pinch clamp near the return connection. Allow saline to fill the connection and then close the white pinch clamp. Press the continue key. The system instructs you to close the saline line and clamp the access line at the access manifold. Ensure that the access line is still clamped, then close the roller clamp on the green striped access saline line and press the continue key. You know that you have completed all of the loading and priming steps correctly when the system gives the following warning. Do not connect donor-patient before running alarm tests. Let us now take a look at this procedure without interruption. Stop the tape now and do exercise 6 in your workbook. Our next step is troubleshooting. The Cope Spectra has a built-in safety system that signals you with an alarm when the system enters a warning condition. Becoming familiar with how the alarms sound, how they look, and what they mean will make a big difference in your ability to stay calm and troubleshoot the problem efficiently. Let's begin by becoming familiar with the different types of alarms. Since system shutdown alarms require your immediate attention, they are indicated by a distinctive chime alarm, a flashing red alarm LED, and a flashing alarm message. Since shutdown alarms stop the pumps, the pause LED is also on to indicate that the system is paused. When the pause LED is on steady, the alarm is still active. When the pause LED is flashing, the alarm condition has been cleared. Warning and operator attention alarms require you to be aware of the system's current condition. They are indicated by an audio alarm and a flashing yellow warning LED. To feel confident when troubleshooting, you need to be well acquainted with the troubleshooting section of the operator's manual. This section has a bright red tab to help you locate it quickly. Turn to the table with the heading that reads Spectra Alarms in the Troubleshooting section. Notice that it provides a concise alphabetical listing of the alarm messages exactly as they appear on the control panel, along with the alarm status and valve positions. This table also refers you to pages later in the troubleshooting section that give you more details. As you become familiar with the machine, it is important to have the operator's manual close by and to be comfortable using it as a reference tool during troubleshooting. This specific video training focuses only on common alarm conditions that occur during the prime mode. It is important to note that the alarm recovery procedures shown in this video may differ from the procedures used when a patient or donor is connected and the system is in run mode. Let's review a few alarm messages and practice using the operator's manual and the troubleshooting chart for troubleshooting prime alarms. Stop the tape now and do exercise 7 in your workbook. Welcome back. You were troubleshooting the alarm that read return pressure sensor did not reach alarm limit. Let's review some of the possible causes for this alarm. One possible cause is misloaded tubing. Once you have corrected the problem, press continue to clear the alarm. This alarm also occurs if the return pressure sensor is not placed properly in the sensor housing. If fluid is in the return line, you cannot simply remove the sensor and reseat it. Doing so causes the diaphragm to move out of its neutral position. We will now go through the steps to return the diaphragm to its neutral position. This procedure is covered in the Recovery Procedures section of your operator's manual and also in the troubleshooting chart of common prime alarms. Clamp the line just above the return pressure sensor and remove the sensor from its housing. Next, check that the return line pinch clamp is closed and check that the return saline roller clamp is open. Then, remove the tubing from the return line valve. Lower the saline container until it is even with the centrifuge cover. Watch the diaphragm in the sensor and wait until it centers. While keeping the saline bag lowered, load the return pressure sensor. Then rehang the saline bag. Lastly, reinsert the return line into the return line valve. Remove the clamp above the return pressure sensor and press the continue key to clear the alarm. Stop the tape now and do exercise 8 in your workbook. Let's review 2 of the possible causes for the centrifuge pressure high alarm. First, this alarm would occur if there were twisted or pinched lines in the centrifuge. Open the centrifuge chamber, examine all the lines, reseat any loose lines, and close the centrifuge chamber. Press continue to clear the alarm. If the alarm does not clear, you need to check the inlet line in the centrifuge pressure sensor. Once you move the line in the sensor, you must reprime the system. To reprime the system, press Change Mode, then select 2 for prime. You have just completed the training program for loading, priming, and troubleshooting the disposable set for an AUPBSC procedure. Information about how to continue with an AUPBSC procedure may be found in the AUPBSC Operations section of your operator's manual. With your expertise, our support, and the automated capability of the Kobe Spectra AUPBSC system, you can rest assured that the best apheresis care is being provided for each and every patient.